What's up? We came down to like the last millisecond on conversations before we entered this room. How's everyone doing? Do we have audio? Because we've had problems with audio over the past like 10 minutes, but I think we're okay. I'm pretty sure. We've got the test synced up. I think we're going okay. Okay.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's another Tim and Katie Tuesday, such as it is. We have been running around like chickens with their heads cut off this week because we have a lot to do. We are going to the Netherlands in less than 3 days, and I have not packed anything.
I've packed like
anything.
5%.
Nothing. I have done no packing. This weekend was crazy. We actually got a new Tim and Katie car, so we're on a new what do we call it? The Tim and Katie mobile? Do we have a name for it besides Dipper?
I mean,
we called it Dipper.
Yes, the car's name is
the
Dipper.
Car's name is Dipper. We have a new car called
You're
Dipper.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a Tim and Katie mobile.
Tim and Katie mobile for the channel's sake. So anyway, busy weekend. Slower week, thankfully, for me at least. I don't know how your week's been.
I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say how my work week
It's been blessedly slow for the last couple of days. We've only got 2 business work days left. So hopefully everything stays that way and I can pack because I have, again, nothing. Who's in tonight? Kaylee, thank you for joining. I think it is going to be a lighter attendance tonight, but God bless Chad and Vanessa, who have never missed a show.
Vanessa, or sometimes Vanessa pops on separately.
Sometimes.
But it's fine if they're together.
They have never missed a show, y'all. Not even when they were on vacation in Disney.
It's true.
I don't think we're worth that, to be honest.
They're like, we're on the monorail. Just wanted to say hi. It's like, no.
Hey, what's going on? Is that a wolf? Did you wolf us?
I think yes. I thought it was a horse head at first, and I
thought it was a horse head too.
But I think it's a wolf.
You thought he was godfathering us?
Yes.
Good to see you, man. LW Ariel, guys, if you don't know, has been busy as heck over the last like 6 to 8 months, just going haunt to haunt to haunt to haunt all over the country doing drone work. So check out that channel for sure. Really short videos, but like super, super cool. So not a huge time commitment, and they will wow you. You got to check them out. Yeah, 2 tickets going to Canada this weekend.
Vanessa, I said hi.
I genuinely forget about other people's travel plans sometimes, so I forgot to mention that, but they are going to Canada's Wonderland in the next couple of days, around the same time that we're going to the Netherlands. Everyone's going international this week. All right. So what are we talking about again? Dark rides.
I lost track too, honestly.
Yeah. So we're talking tonight about something that has come up a couple of times in our casual conversations with other people, but never really on our channel. Because every time we do a live stream, we talk about like theme parks, we talk about roller coasters, and everyone has their own roller coaster rankings, and there's like coaster credits and all that, but like very few people in our circle, at least, not none, but very few count dark ride credits. And every time we go to like a theme park, we're chasing down coaster credits because there's so rarely dark rides available to us. So we thought,
unless you're at like the big name parks,
the big name, like
Yeah.
Disney and Universal. And we'll touch on Disney and Universal too, because they have a big stake in the dark ride
Obviously.
game. But we do want to focus on the industry as a whole, like just dark rides and how they play into everything. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's just get into it. Before we get started, guys, as always, socials, The Real Tim and Kitty on Instagram, Tim and Kitty on Facebook, and surprise, y'all, we are caught up on our website. How many times have I come on and been like, we're not caught up? Probably about 12 in the last 12 live streams.
For like the next 3 days, and then I'll be behind again.
Not if I can help it. I'm determined this week, guys. I don't think we'll be able to keep up with it while we're international, but I'm planning to keep up with it at least until we go international. So, yeah, Instagram, we've been trying to be a little bit more active. That's where we post all the what's it called? Real time. When we're out and about, when we're shooting. Typically, the more we shoot, the less we Instagram, but we try to keep y'all apprised of where we are and what we're doing so you have something to get excited for. And then Facebook, everything kind of just ports over, but we've been trying to be a little bit more friendly towards Facebookers too, because some people only have Facebook and we want to accommodate that. But the website is what I'm really proud of this week. Make sure to check out our website if you haven't. We do have one. We post opinion pieces, all this noise. There's also some SEO to it too, which is why I post the blog post. That's why it exists, but it has other stuff too. So, I don't even think I put a title slide into this because I just this is going to be kind of all over the place because there's a lot to talk about that we've never talked about before. So, let me just jump right in and ask everyone if you know what a dark ride is. Because a lot of the people who watch our live streams are our friends who are theme parkers who, of course, know what dark rides are. But some people out there might not. So for you all who, I'm telling you, like when I tell people that aren't theme parkers, that aren't like hardcore theme parkers, that may have been to Disney or Universal, but have never been to Knobles, Cedar Fair, or might have been to a park and not even know what it's affiliated with. Like when I tell people, oh, it's a dark ride, the first reaction I get is,
what's a dark ride?
So you can't see anything? And that's kind of like people don't know. It's an industry term. And I think Disney and maybe Knobles, I don't think Hershey Park had a dark ride at the outset. Kennywood did way back in the day. The term dark ride was coined historically to describe a ride that has scenes set by light. It's called a dark ride because the surrounding environment is not lit. It's dark so that you can focus on what's in front of you. So a dark ride, for lack of a better description, is a narrative storytelling ride. There are many different types of dark rides and subcategories within that description. So we're going to define all of them for you as best we can. And I want to say at this point, we are by no means theme park industry experts.
We are
not engineers. We just like going to theme parks and we love dark rides for what they are. And when we go to a theme park, if it has a dark ride, the dark ride honestly is sometimes higher on the list for me personally than the roller coasters are. Depends on the ride, depends on the park.
We're trying to encourage more parks to have them.
Yeah. So this one is actually not functioning right now. This is a SeaWorld dark ride at SeaWorld Orlando, has been closed since the pandemic, maybe even a little bit before, because we never made it to SeaWorld pre-2020, but we know that since the pandemic, it has not reopened. Was excuse after excuse after excuse. It was previously the sanitize. I mean, none of this is from the park directly, so bear that in mind. But I heard many different things like the sanitization practices bother the penguins because this is part of the penguin habitat. We heard that the magnets, this is trackless dark ride, so it uses magnets to move around. We heard the magnets disengaged because they had been left idle for too long. I don't even know if that's possible. So that might have been all fluff. But for one reason or another, this dark ride has not reopened. The penguin exhibit at SeaWorld Orlando is just that. It used to be that you would take the dark ride into the exhibit, which I would have really liked to see. The reason that this dark ride wasn't popular is because it really didn't have scenes. It had sets. It had atmosphere. As you can see, it was part of a big, grand environment. It's very cool to look at as you're wandering around. But this could just as easily be a walkthrough because there's not a whole lot to look at besides
ice.
Like this is all it is. And it looks beautiful in this picture, but this is all it is. For like a 2 to 3 minute experience, this was all there was going to be. There's a couple screens here and there, but it's a little bit too reliant on atmosphere and not enough on narrative. And that's what kind of sets apart a dark ride for us, is like it's a narrative experience. You're being told a story. Sometimes the story is nonsensical,
Or
sometimes it's weird.
You're participating
Sometimes you're participating in the story. A dark ride should tell a story. If it's a good dark ride, some way, shape, or form, whether it's interactive or not, it's telling a story. And at the end of the ride, you're like, cool, that was a cute little story. If it's done well. Or a terrifying
scary story.
So, a bunch of different companies make dark rides. Again, not industry experts. These are not all the manufacturers. Mm-hmm. We only have the slightest idea of who makes what. So we did do a little bit of homework. It would have taken weeks to do all the homework. If you want to find out exactly what kind of manufacturers made which rides happen to be your favorite, which manufacturers made those, you're probably going to have to do some of your own homework to look it all up. But I'll get you started with the homework that we've done. So a whole bunch, let me get us off real quick.
Get the live off too.
Yep. A whole bunch of different manufacturers make dark rides. The most extraordinary, most well-known brand is Sally, up at the top left. Sally Dark Rides has a factory and a production plant in Jacksonville, Florida. They are crazy good at what they do. And a lot of the big name parks, Six Flags, I'm pretty sure that Kennywood's, maybe not, but I'm pretty sure that Kennywood's is a Sally Dark Ride as well. The Phantom Manor, not the Old Mill. Sally makes rides for everybody. Cedar Fair, yeah. So if you've been on a dark ride outside of the Disney or Universal parks, there's a 50-50 chance it's a Sally Dark Ride creation. The other brands that Walt Disney Imagineering, Universal Creative, who are both on this list, tend to work with a lot are combinations of the rest of these. It's either Sally. Kuka has manufactured robotic arms that make for really cool interactive dark ride experiences, like if you've ever been on Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at Universal. That's a Kuka plus dynamic attractions plus Universal Creative for a final product that we all love. It's one of my favorite dark rides, to be honest, although it does have screens, and some dark rides do. You also have independents like Knobles, represented by the big K at the top, who have built their own. I think it was Dick Knoble, 50 years ago this year, built the Haunted Mansion at Knobles, which is one of our independently family-owned parks nearby us. One of our absolute favorite dark rides in the entire country. Very much a ghost train type experience versus something more extravagant and immersive like Disney's Haunted Mansion, but super, super fun. And honestly, a bit terrifying for what it is.
It's definitely
the first time you go through, it's going to get you multiple times. Like, there's no way it's not. It's a great attraction.
There's a lot of,
once you know where all the jump scares are, it won't hit you as hard. But honestly, like, if they time it out so that it's a little bit different every time, they can still get you sometimes, because a lot of it's like, it's a true dark ride. It's also light, it's sound, it's designed to spook you.
Usually we go together. Every once in a while, we have an extra person with us, or we're filming something and we go through by ourselves. And when I'm by myself in Knobles Haunted Mansion, I'm a little scared. I'm not gonna lie. Like, things pop out. Anyway, we'll talk more, I think, about
one of the biggest manufacturers entering the game in the last couple of decades has been Mack Rides, which is based out in Germany. They own a whole park. If you're unfamiliar, Europa Park in Germany. It's Roost. That's Roost. Europa's in Roost, right?
Yes.
Yes. Fantasia lands elsewhere. So Mack Rides has basically built Europa Park up, which is a fabulous, amazing park that we one day hope to make it to. It's one big testing ground for all of their creations, all their mechanizations. The dark rides at Europa are 100% Mack driven. And they have patents and creations out there at other parks like Six Flags, Universal, Disney, that are like components and pieces of what they've built for their own parks. One big development that's coming is the Mack boat.
Yeah.
That has the ability to like twist and spin and float.
If you were there for our, if you want to be an Imagineer live, when I talked about making a Rapunzel dark ride, that was the ride mechanism that I wanted, was the
it's really, really cool. It's built well. So like, all of these different manufacturers, and I could honestly spend about 15 minutes on any one of them, like they've done incredible work. And there's more people entering the game every day. So this is not by any means the extensive, inclusive, all-encompassing list.
Yeah.
This is just the big names that I was able to pull on a quick research diet. So all of these different people have a stake in making dark rides that aren't necessarily all going to be equally as thrilling or as immersive, but will entertain, provide a narrative, and give a theme park a little bit more to look forward to than just that roller coaster, this roller coaster.
Not to mention, accessibility for younger children or maybe even older people who may not be as fit to ride, the thrilling, coasters. So dark rides do give an opportunity for a wider range of people to enjoy a ride, I think.
And that's
not said for all of them. Some of them, as we will talk about, are a little bit more thrilling or may have a higher height requirement or something. But your traditional, thinking about the Disney dark rides, oftentimes they allow whole families to go on the ride together.
And I will say that part of the holdup in building out more of there's a lot of reasons why a theme park may not choose to include dark ride. It's got lower capacity for one. It's not going to bring as many people through unless it's built incredibly well, and some of them are. But take Rise of Resistance at Disney World and Disneyland as your case study. Very low hourly capacity as compared to roller coasters. Roller coasters are designed with like 3 trains, 4 trains in mind. Every time a train enters the track, another train is loading, so on and so forth. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure at Epcot has a relatively high capacity as compared to other dark rides in the industry. Rise of Resistance, because of what it is and because of the way it was built and how immersive it needs to be, you kind of have to be isolated from other people in order to enjoy the experience the way it's meant to be enjoyed. So it's not going to have as high capacity. And that means that people like Disney and Universal are less likely to build more rides like that in the parks because they know it's going to create a logjam. People are going to be stuck in that line. And the longer they're in that line, the more they're going to gripe about their experience.
Case in point, I think, is Reese's Cup Fusion at Hershey Park. We're glad they have a dark ride, but that's one we often skip
just because back up.
It gets up to like a 2-hour line a lot.
Yeah.
So we're happy it's there. We don't always make it on.
It doesn't load and deploy like it's, and we'll talk about the different types of loading mechanisms too, but like dark rides as a whole, a lot of them will drag into the station like a train, but they won't launch like a train out of the station and dip you right into the ride. They'll have to like load up, safety check, move along like that. Second safety check, move along like that, enter the track. If it's a trackless dark ride, sync up with the magnets. Like it'll keep having other steps to do to make for the experience that you want to have. And that results in a longer time in the station, a longer line, so on and so forth, capacity issues. One other thing that I don't want to presume to speak for anyone, but I know that a lot of our friends have criticized dark rides as a whole for being a little bit less friendly towards people who have a harder time fitting into the seats. So this is something that I think the industry as a whole is working on, but it's tough because for a dark ride to work, you can't have a train that is sized towards the person. The person has to be sized for the train or the car or whatever we want to call it. The capacity is limited to do like different body types and different body sizes in order to get through the way it's supposed to get through, because you're navigating narrow passages most of the time. Ghost trains in particular are going to have a really hard time with this.
I'd say it's probably more of an issue for your older rides. Like I'm thinking Mr.
Well, no, because Secret Life of Pets.
Well, that was
think about how Secret Life of Pets.
I think for that ride to be so new and to be kind of cramped. I think that while the ride vehicle for Secret Life of Pets was really cute, I was like, I don't know why they didn't make this bigger, because if I'm like, wow, this is cramped, it's going to cause problems.
Right.
So hopefully they're thinking of that in mind, that not, every person is different, and not everyone, we're all different, but most of us want to enjoy the same things. So,
and it's nice to have like an air conditioned alternative to waiting in line for a big roller coaster. Like
big pro of dark rides is getting out of the sun, getting out of the heat for a bit, especially, on a hot summer day.
So with two obstacles of probably many more that we're considering here in mind, let's look at the different types of dark rides and how industries are trying to like overcome the obstacles that are in their way. Which is another way of saying why you should build a dark ride theme park that might be listening.
They're definitely listening.
Many different, yeah, you never know. Many different types of dark rides. So
Woo!
we'll start with the ones that you've probably all experienced, right? If you've been to Disney or Universal, you've been exposed at one point or another to the screen-based dark ride. I'm going to go ahead and lay down a blanket rule. We discussed this beforehand, so this shouldn't be a surprise to you. So if we have a dark ride that is 90% screens, we would probably categorize that as more of a screen ride than a dark ride. It may have practical sets and may be inclusionary of dark ride elements, but if you're staring at a screen the whole time, you could probably do that in VR. It's not a true dark ride experience for us. Now, they would still define that as a dark ride industry-wide, but we don't.
Well,
I want to lean more into the...
Yeah, we're not gonna split hairs over whether like Transformers and Spider-Man, the better Spider-Man ride, are dark rides or not, because I do think they are, but I do think that Universal
they
as a
are
whole
dark
leans heavy on a lot of on screen rides, which is why The Secret Life of Pets was such a breath of fresh air, because I really thought they were never going to go back to more practical animatronics. To Spider-Man's credit, while there is a lot of screens, that was kind of like the first of its kind ride, and there are practical effects. There's water squirting you, there's fire, there's cityscapes, there's Stanley in the van coming at you. So I think we discussed like there's the complete and utter animatronic based, or
we'll
there's
get
other
to that.
things.
We'll get to that. But this, for us to define it as a dark ride, personally, the two of us, and only the two of us, this is just an opinion, we tend to lean towards it's a dark ride if it's not more than 25 to 30% reliant on screens. Spider-Man very much straddles the line.
Yeah.
But it is very cool. It is very cool.
The ones that I think of that are absolutely screen rides that are not dark rides would be I would say
Fast and
they're
the Furious.
Most like motion simulator rides more than anything, or like the Jimmy Fallon ride at Universal. These are Universal rides. Get it? Universal loves their screens. Jimmy Fallon, Simpsons, and the Minions ride.
And Fast and the Furious.
The current arguably. Minions ride. Fast and the Furious, yeah. That ride doesn't even deserve a category.
It's really not a ride.
It's not.
It's more of a movie.
It's a bad movie.
With very loud special effects that aren't very special. Anyway, so Spider-Man, we do love this as an attraction. I think it does walk the line between dark ride and motion simulator, but it is trackless. It does have practical set elements. It does have practical effects like fire.
It's not trackless. It's on like a little thingy, isn't it?
No, it's trackless. It's one of the earliest trackless rides.
I didn't think it was trackless.
Pretty sure.
Someone
correct me if I'm wrong.
I thought it was like in one of those little car things that's got a little arm that's like woo.
It does transition over to those pieces at different points in the I mean,
maybe it has.
Sorry if we're spoiling it for anyone who's not been on Spider-Man. If you haven't been on Spider-Man, you need to be on
mechanical engineers.
You need to be on Spider-Man yesterday if you haven't been on Spider-Man. Anyway, anyone who wants to confirm whether or not it's trackless, please do.
I think it was trackless.
Thought it was
trackless. It can't do the things that it does.
No, it's on a little bobble. That's what makes it do it.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's trackless. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll fall on my sword on that one.
Maybe it's trackless.
Let's move on to Spider-Man though, because we could
Spider-Man
all night. We could talk about Spider-Man. So let's call this.
About Spider-Man.
Let's call this the screen ride hybrid.
Yeah,
would
I
be
call
one
this a
category
hybrid
of dark ride.
It's a hybrid.
Another category of dark ride, and probably the more popular, and in my opinion, the best version, is the fully animatronic narrative screen ride. So
animatronic.
This is actually a scene from the Wallace and Gromit Thrill-O-Matic ride at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Yeah. Couldn't remember the first word. Blackpool Pleasure Beach in England. Park we've never been to, but very much would like to go to. It's actually it's kind of like carved out as like a boardwalk or a pier, but then they just kept building. It was wild. Like it just grew into one of the most popular parks in the UK.
Those pleasure beaches were all over the place, and I guess Blackpool just kind of kept going, and some of the other ones just kind of stay.
Well, this is their, I guess technically they have two because Alice in Wonderland and Valhalla, if you count it, will get to flume rides too.
Don't they have a ghost train too?
Their ghost train is Alice in Wonderland, isn't it?
Oh.
I could be wrong.
It could be.
Anyway, the primary dark ride, if we're going to call it that, at Blackpool Pleasure Beach is Wallace and Gromit. Now, it used to be something else. I don't know what came before Wallace and Gromit. I like Wallace and Gromit, so I'm excited to experience this whenever we do make it out to the UK. But Wallace and Gromit is a fully animatronic story, narrative elements that may have like practical effects here and there, but they do not have really any screens. So this is the traditional experience. If you've ever been to Disney, which I have to imagine everyone has, everyone who's listening to this chat at least, has been to Disney, what you'll often find is that most of those Fantasyland rides, or Disneyland in particular, but Disney World as well, Fantasyland is very much dependent on animatronic-based attractions. So like the screen ride, I don't know where screen came from. Please forgive me. The animatronic-based attractions dominate the Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. There are thrilling attractions as well that do include animatronics and narrative scenes. We'll get to those too, but this is kind of like the traditional dark ride experience.
We have a little seat.
Yeah, and a little pod.
Told a story.
It takes you through. It doesn't make any big thing of any one scene. It just tells you a story, and you look around and you're like, oh, cool. And the lights come up and they go down. They play music. Sometimes you bounce with Tigger. You're doing Winnie the Pooh. Like it's meant to be entertaining and a little break from like the hustle and bustle of the park. Yeah. It's not meant to be special effects spectacular of any kind. Some of them are, though. Some of them have really, really cool effects. Snow White's Enchanted Wish, if we're talking about Disney, recently updated Fantasyland ride over at Disneyland, has quite a few really cool effects now, and some really interactive, well, I want to say interactive with each other more so than with the riders, but like animatronics that like interact with one another, and it looks very awesome and like
immersive.
Updated.
I think the word you're looking for is maybe immersive, like you feel very much.
I'm having a real hard time with adjectives tonight, but yeah.
But not interactive, because we'll get to what we consider would be a truly interactive ride. Like the patron is interacting with the ride.
I don't think interactive is necessarily the wrong word. I know what you're thinking, but I'm thinking like, you know, how roller coasters interact. We call it interaction if like a roller coaster like sweeps another roller coaster to make it look like it's more kinetic.
Ride components interact with each other, yes, but I'm speaking specifically you as the rider, you as the patron interacting with the ride.
Okay, well, fair enough then.
Yeah.
There's also the more thrilling multi-prong dark ride like Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at both Hogwarts across, well, actually all Hogwarts. I think this is the only Universal attraction that is stamped at every single park all around the globe is Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. And I'm glad for that, honestly, because although I know it is triggering for a lot of people with motion sickness, and I did have a hard time with it my first time, it is weirdly the ride that makes me feel like most like, oh yeah, I'm at Universal. Like it's just a hallmark of the park. So what this is, if you've been familiar, we've talked about it on the channel before, but if this is your first time joining a live stream, one, I'm sorry for the chaotic mess that this turned out to be, but two, this ride, you sit on it, and it basically tries to convince you that you're on a magic bench and you have control of it by like broom handle. And it's not a formal broom handle anymore. It used to be, and now it's like
Well, you've been made to levitate
like a steering wheel
from Hermione on the bench, and you can hold the handle if it makes you feel more comfortable. You are in kind of I would say a kind of like tight box kind of thing, and your legs are dangling, but this is the Kuka arm,
right? This is the hybrid, so like it's a robotic arm that picks up the bench, flips you over, twists you around. Some of the coolest animatronic and atmospheric props in the entire industry exist in this ride. They do have this giant, like this big honking dragon that breathes fire upon you.
Spiders.
It's got the Whomping Willow, which is a huge animatronic. And only works half the time, but when it works, it's a thing of beauty.
It does.
The dragon, I've never had the dragon be asleep when I've come up on it. The dragon usually almost always works.
And I love this story, but it still makes me sad. There used to be they have so many Dementors, at least in the Walt Disney World. Wow. Speaking of, at least in the Universal Orlando version, they have so many Dementors
that used to be active.
But apparently when the ride was testing, it was too scary and they turned some off. And I was like, can we turn them back on for like one ride?
One day.
Just one day. Just let us have all the Dementors. But I do think because of how dependent they are on screens for part of this ride, I also categorize it as a hybrid. It's a different kind of hybrid than Spider-Man, but it's definitely still a hybrid dark ride.
Yeah. The reason that this one is kind of, I guess, partitioned out in our minds is because it has so many different pieces, so many different manufacturers. Like, this is a Frankenstein attraction. It was a technological masterpiece at the time. It still holds up pretty well.
Yes.
This is a hardcore, like, it's very much an animatronic-based dark ride, but it also has thrill elements. It's not quite as thrilling as some of the other types of rides we'll talk about, but it is like, it's a hybrid. And it's got a KUKA arm. It's got a...
you do it all without wearing glasses.
Yes.
Which is...
You don't need 3D to appreciate it.
Something I appreciate because...
You did used to do that.
Yes.
Though. You did used to have to wear the glasses. And they were like, nah, never mind. And I was like,
I think that also made people like too motion sick too, to have it be like too 3D.
Kim,
so,
welcome.
Hey, Kim. But I'm honestly okay with that, because even though some of the rides I really do like at Universal do involve wearing 3D glasses, I do get kind of sick of it. But anyway,
do you want to talk about interactive?
What I'm talking about when you interact with the dark ride, and I sounded like I was really excited about this, and honestly, this is
your least favorite
kind of. I want to be entertained. I don't want to have to work, but. But I do like.
I have to shoot the targets.
Wait,
hold on. This is you.
Yeah.
I got that one over there. Now that one. Oh,
okay.
God.
Are you gonna let me talk about it, or are you going to make fun of me?
Both.
No. So this obviously is, well, I guess it's Buzz.
This is Astro Blasters.
This is Astro Blasters. Yep. Okay. So there's multiple versions of this ride around Disney parks as well. It's a Disney ride, and as you can tell by the elated look on the children's faces, they're using their Astro Blasters to shoot things on the ride. If you do have a dark ride like this, I like it when some effect happens when you shoot something. So if you are shooting something and something moves or happens or a noise is made, that does make it so it kind of helps you tell the story, and it makes me want to shoot things in the ride. So this is, I would say, like was one of the, I don't know if it was one of the first, but at least for Disney, I think it was one of the first truly, I'd say, interactive rides. Now you have things like Spider-Man in DCA, where you're doing this with your arms, which is a workout if you haven't done it, I tell you. If you're actually trying
and
to...
Ninjago at Legoland uses the same technology.
Legoland has some... if not dark rides, they do some partial dark rides that are really cool.
No. Legoland has Ninjago. It also has the Lego Factory Tour, which is very much a dark ride.
Really cool dark ride.
Really cool dark ride.
Yeah.
So Legoland is pioneering the dark ride industry as well. Merlin. And Merlin,
and who knows? I don't know if they're working with someone, but
no, it's Merlin. It was on the manufacturer's slide. Merlin does a lot of things in-house by pairing with other things.
But. Yeah. So that's interactive. You also have rides like, well, I guess I did already say, am I thinking like Toy Story Mania, where it's still this shooting game,
and Cup Fusion as well.
And like Cup Fusion, and
a lot of those interactive dark rides now, they're a little bit more too reliant on screens. Like it's, and I understand. Well, like, let's use Spider-Man as an example. Not the Spider-Man ride that we talked about before at Universal, but the one at Disneyland or Disney California Adventure, where yes, you're doing the spider fingers. So the reason that had to be screens, in their opinion, was so that they could get Tom Holland in on the action, so that you could believably get the impression that Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Peter Parker from the MCU, was in the fight with you and he was swinging along and he was part of the action. And I get that that's a cool effect, and we all love Tom Holland. You know, he might not be everyone's favorite Spider-Man, but he's pretty much everyone's favorite Spider-Boy. So screen rides have their place. Screen rides have, I mean, could you imagine if they did a Spider-Verse overlay? Then I'd be suddenly I'd be interested.
Then I'd be so much more interested. Oh my God.
So screen rides have their place in the interactive game, but practical sets rule over screen rides in almost every context. So like if we had a hybrid that had screens but wasn't totally reliant on them, like we don't really like Toy Story Mania that much, simply because it's like way too reliant on screens. I could do that on VR, guys. I have an Oculus at home. If I can do it at home, it's not fun for me.
I don't want to go to a theme park to like play a video game. And that's one of another reasons like I don't prioritize like Reese's Cup Fusion, because it's the same thing. You're shooting at a screen. Things are happening on the screen, but you're shooting at a screen. So I hope that that's not the forever interactive model. I prefer things like Space Rangers
Spin, Phantom Manor at Kennywood, Boo Blasters at all the Cedar Fair parks.
Those ones have, you know, you shoot a little target and a ghost pops out of a clock. I mean, it's cute.
And to be fair, Cup Fusion actually has one or two very small, very minor practical effects. That's more than Spider-Man has at DCA. Yeah. Spider-Man at DCA has like 100% spider bots. Toy Story Mania, and 100% screen. Like,
yeah, it's not.
I would rather do Cup Fusion on any given day than Toy Story Mania. But that's just me. Like, I want to be more immersed in what I'm seeing. Well, I mean, when you have Fast Track, you just walk up on Cup Fusion. It's it's a thing to do. But anyway, point is, interactive is a whole different, and there's many different subcategories of interactive. The types we're after, the types that we really consider to be dark rides and not screen rides or motion simulators, are more practical.
Yeah. Think so, like a true blue classic dark ride.
We're very opinionated when it comes to dark rides. Let's talk about a little known type of dark ride that's becoming much more well known.
So we're touching on this because this is, I would say,
there's enough here to do a whole separate stream on it, and we're going to try to at some point in the future.
Because obviously in our like top coaster credits live, we've talked about our love for Hagrid's, and we mentioned Hagrid's a lot because it's
Gringotts
still a fantastic ride. We don't consider coasters with dark ride elements or like heavily themed coasters to be dark rides. We think of them as coasters with dark ride elements or heavily themed coasters. It's just how it is.
I think the industry term now, as a result of Hagrid's and other coasters like Cosmic Rewind kind of building up this element, is story coaster. Yeah. I love story coasters.
Story coaster is a great
story coasters are
term.
Incredible. But as Katie said, not technically dark rides. Right. They have dark ride elements. Copperhead Strike, we just rode for the first time at Carowinds, has a really cool dark ride element. Fire Chaser Express at Dollywood. There's a whole bunch of different story coasters out there that most people wouldn't even think of as being story coasters, but definitely, absolutely,
even
100% are.
Even like Coaster has its story coaster elements, even though it's
very much a thrill seeker's experience.
Hagrid's, it's more of like just a fun, thrilling coaster. You do have a little bit of a story there, and sometimes the story's set up in the queue and whatnot as well. But when we got on Copperhead Strike, we were expecting to get launched off onto the track, and no,
we got Jojo rolled
surprise. And then turned around, and it was like, oh, there's a scene right here that's playing out, which is so cool. So love that, more theming, but we're not really categorizing them as dark rides.
But a lot of people do, and that's why it's on the list, just to say that
we acknowledge it exists.
This is a type of thing
we still like it
that we will talk about, but most dark rides are not going to be quite as thrilling as a story coaster. So leading into dark rides tonight, save all thoughts on story coasters though, because we are going to talk about them.
Yeah, we are definitely doing a live on story coasters.
So I know we have a smaller group tonight, y'all, but I'm going to try to engage you.
It's a small but strong group.
I'm going to try to engage y'all. So let's give us a couple minutes here. We're going to move ahead, but while we do, I want to ping you all and see what your favorite dark rides are. Based on everything we've said, pretty sure that everyone in the chat already knows what a dark ride is by this point anyway, but with everything we said, now you have a clear definition of what a dark ride is. Tell us what your favorite dark rides are. I would love to talk about them because I really want to build up the hype for dark rides. They're so cool. There's many, like hundreds, if not thousands of them out there that barely get recognition. Black Diamond is a great one at Knobles. We love Black Diamond. Yeah, so while y'all are thinking about that, we'll move ahead, but definitely want to hear what your thoughts are on dark rides and whether or not you think the dark ride should be more prevalent in the industry.
Especially
Alice in Wonderland is probably the best of the Fantasyland.
That's my favorite of the Fantasyland. Yeah.
Although Mr. Toad is a runner-up.
Mr. Toad
for very different reasons.
It's a
trip.
It's a trip, and I love it, and I don't ever want it to go away. But I think Alice in Wonderland and Disneyland is my favorite of the Disneyland.
Mr. Toad
of the Fantasyland. Mr. Toad, classic.
So
the song.
I'm going to throw some of our favorites at you, not by any means in any order, because we have way too many favorites. Yeah. Like, I would not destroy a single dark ride to save a single coaster, except possibly Hagrid's, which is a story coaster.
Yeah.
Like, dark rides are probably where my heart is in a true theme park. But not enough theme parks have a plentiful assortment of dark rides for me to get excited about it every time I go.
Yeah.
So
this is not a top 5.
That's what I just said.
Oh,
it's not in any order.
Oh,
not in any order. And we're not going to limit it. Like,
my brain has been in Mr. Toad since we mentioned it, and I've literally just been like in front of like the judge going.
This is literally the comment that is Mr. Toad.
So I was not
a toad in hell
listening to you. Anyway, like you said, not a top 5. It's just 5 examples we wanted to talk about as being different, but some of our favorites, and we didn't want to talk about 5 Disney rides either.
Although
one of them is
the first one is definitely Disney. So I pulled this from the Disneyland version of Pirates of the Caribbean, which in my opinion is the definitive version. We have Pirates of the Caribbean all over the world. In Shanghai, we actually have just the world's coolest, wildest Pirates of the Caribbean attraction, but incredibly reliant on screens.
This one is quintessential dark ride.
Straight up animatronics, nothing but.
Talk about immersion, sense,
practical effects, fire. We've got
cannonballs.
It is a boat ride. Some would call it a flume ride. I don't think it's quite small enough or rough enough to be a flume.
I think flume entails you're in a little boat and you might get wet. You might get wet on this ride, true.
You do get wet on the Disneyland
But I
ride.
don't think
it's not might. You do get wet on the Disneyland version.
Yeah. It's not like well, mostly I get wet because there's water in the boat, and then I sit down, and then the boat goes forward. And
I get wet on there's 2 drops on the Disneyland version. The second one always got me wet. It's an excellent attraction. I mean, you know how much I hate getting wet, guys. I'm telling you, this is an excellent attraction. If you've never been on Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't know what you're doing with your lives. But if you've never been on the Disneyland version of Pirates of the Caribbean, that is like the quintessential. That's like the dark ride that defines other dark rides for me.
Yeah.
This is a really, really cool,
and it
true
definitely
attraction.
Has inspired several rides around the world.
Oh yeah, Europa is basically just a collection of Disney knockoffs, but built with different cool technologies that make it really fun to look at. So Pirates is probably not to put it in any order, but Pirates is probably like my number 1 or 2 across the whole spectrum of dark rides. So I had to include it, but there are others. This is Knobles Haunted Mansion. It's hard to find good pics of it because it's very, very dark. It's a true dark ride.
Moving kind of fast.
Yeah, and this, I will say, this is much more, compare it to Disney's Haunted Mansion, which is an omni-mover attraction, which means the cars truck their way through the station. You get on while it's moving, unless you have an issue that requires it to stop. They have safety mechanisms in place for that. It continues going through, and it's always moving. And it's you're in a car. It's a true
doom buggy.
It's a doom buggy. It's a true conga line of cars.
And you're in your
that just keeps moving.
And if they want, they'll turn you towards stuff that you need to look at. And
right.
you're.
tiptoeing around calling it a train because it's not technically, it doesn't have a beginning or an end. It's just a ramp that just keeps going and going and going. Omnimover is the only industry term that applies. If you don't know what that is, now you know. But that is an Omnimover attraction that is a true like dark ride experience as defined by the modern industry. Knobles Haunted Mansion is much more like the old school ghost trains. It has little buckets. You load 2 at a time. They pull them up, you get in, they pull a lever, and you dispatch. And then you keep going until you're done.
You're literally like saloon busting through the doors with your car into each and every scene. So, you know, keep your...
I came in
they're
like
they're not kidding when they say keep your hands inside the vehicle because you do not want to get your fingers smashed against the door.
And in typical ghost train style, in addition to them just like banging through the doors, like Knobles Haunted Mansion, a lot of the effects are triggered by proximity. So like as you roll up on something, that's when it knows to activate.
Flashes, the noise gets...
Traditional dark ride at Disney or Universal, it'll just keep looping the animatronic scenelet over and over and over again. Depending on where you're sitting, you make it a different angle on it. You'll usually get the full scene. You just won't get it from the same angle every time. That experience is consistent for everyone because as you roll up, that's what triggers it. Now, I know Chad and Vanessa are in the chat from 2 Tickets to Adventure. They did a whole video specifically on the Haunted Mansion and its 50th anniversary celebration at Knobles. We've also been out one time to check out the Haunted Mansion with all its updates. Incredible attraction. They know much more about the history of this attraction than we do. So I'm going to put it to Chad and Vanessa to drop any fun facts about the Haunted Mansion in the chat if they have any. Not an obligation, just a thing you can do. It's a really cool attraction that I could definitely talk about forever, but I would sound like an idiot when I started running out of things to say.
It's always a must-do in the park for us, and it's one of the main reasons we just never bother with getting the wristbands because you got to pay a la carte.
It's the quintessential Knobles attraction. It is a step above what the wristband attractions cover. Like all the wristband attractions are fun and cool, and I don't want to degrade any of them. Twister and Phoenix, some of our favorite coasters, but Haunted Mansion is the attraction you have to do at Knobles.
I know you say Black Diamond.
Black Diamond too. The 2 dark rides.
Yeah.
The 2 classic dark ride attractions.
They made themselves. And they're dark. Like I don't want to say like they're dark. Like
they're dark.
Your 3-year-old might be a little scared. We'll just say that. Then again, I remember being on Disney's Haunted Mansion when I was a kid, and I was also scared because I was totally convinced those ghosts
were real.
I was like, wow, ghosts live here. But depending on the maturity of your child and their sense of imagination, they may have just as much fun. E.T.
So I made a point. I made a point to only do 1 Disney and 1 Universal in this list. And again, not a definitive list. We love way more rides than that at both parks. But because I wanted to highlight the whole industry, Disney and Universal have enough of a share already. E.T. at Universal, amazing attraction. Weird, super weird, just like Mr. Toad's, but like so fun and immersive.
Instead of like going to hell, you
go to space.
E.T.'s home planet.
Welcome home, you've arrived. It's got water effects. It's got hundreds of animatronics. It's got interactivity in a way because you do give your name to the tenant, and then E.T. belts it out at the end.
E.T. will say goodbye to you.
It's very unique in the ride mechanism too because it's suspended like Peter Pan's flight. So if you've never been on E.T., you're riding bikes, but you're hanging from the ceiling, and your bikes go through the scenes.
If anyone remembers like commercials for Universal in the 90s, they always featured the E.T. ride and other rides that don't exist anymore because E.T. can never ever go away. And I was like, I gotta get on this ride. I gotta bike through the Redwood Forest. I gotta do this. And it took me until I was like 27 years old to finally do it. But I'm glad I did. It's a great ride.
This comment from Chad and Vanessa is all the sounds for the house at Knobles Haunted Mansion were created in the house, which I did not know.
No, created in-house. I don't know if that means in the house, but it means they recorded effects. So all like...
I know what in-house means. I just read it wrong.
Okay, I'm sorry. You can't read. It's okay. It's okay.
I think how you're explaining sound mixing to someone who went to school for film. Anyway.
I thought you forgot everything. Apparently, you only just forgot how to read. It's fine.
Oh, I don't know how to dial a telephone either. Would you like to tell me about that a little later? No, very cool fact. Very cool fact. Knobles did a lot of...
Do they call that Foley?
They do.
I know a word.
You know. New film words.
The Foley was created in-house.
So,
Anyway.
I mean, Knobles does almost everything in-house. Not everything. A lot of their attractions were ported from other parks to, like Phoenix used to be somewhere else, the wooden roller coaster. But a lot of it is fabricated at Knobles.
And flying turns definitely were like Knobles' original created rides. So cool. Anyway, E.T. is a great dark ride. Highly recommend. Family friendly, I believe, as long as you're okay sitting on a little bike seat. It's not an actual bike seat. It's like a seat.
It's a weird one.
It is weird, but it's
fun.
Really.
It's a must do. And highly immersive scents.
Yes.
It's got a scent all its own.
Yep.
Then once you walk into that queue, you'll be like, this is my new home. This is where I'm staying.
Yep.
This is Knott's Berry Tales Return to the Fair, a newly opened dark ride at Knott's Berry Farm, Cedar Fair Park in California. So there used to be a dark ride that was, I believe, just Knott's Berry Tale without the Return to the Fair subtitle.
Right.
It was much less interactive. This is a shooter, so it does have, the little pop guns. And the pop guns I like because they're not trigger-based. They're like, you pull a little...
I mean, I think Toy Story does that too.
Toy Story does do that too.
But it's a little, you pull a little berry on the gun, and because you're shooting like berries at the foxes.
It's got a lot of practical effects. It does have a lot of immersive atmospheres. You do some spinning and tussling and turning through a thunderstorm at one point. We first learned about this watching Justin Scar when he went to Knott's Berry Farm. Had no idea they had a dark ride. And to be totally honest, Knott's Berry Farm was on my list of places to go, but it wasn't high on my list until that particular video.
Like really high on my list.
It is for sure my favorite Cedar Fair park. We've only been to 4, but that was the best one. And this was one of the best rides in that park. And I don't want to say it's allowed, but they don't seem to mind when people are filming on this ride.
I will say though, your score will suffer if you're trying to hold 100%. The camera and shoot berries at sneaky foxes at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, boysenberry smell. I mean, come on.
Immersive environment again. Like they work hard to make it like so you're in the story. Interactivity in a true form puts you in the middle of the action, makes you feel like you're actually at the Boysenberry Festival, smelling the boysenberry. Some screens, definitely some screens, but
not my favorite kind of ride, but
my favorite of this kind of
ride. We love that. We love that Knott's Berry Farm has a dark ride. We do. And it sounds like they used to, and this is their newest one, but I'm glad that they didn't just scrap it all together and not have a dark ride. Knott's Berry Farm. I'm going to shout out our friend Kaylee, Fantastic Fandoms.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry. I went all tongue.
Do you have anything else to say?
No, I want to shout her out because she just released a vlog from our trip in, spring 2022?
2022.
Yeah. And it's a great time. Check out her video for a really fun Knott's Berry Farm day that we had.
Fantastic Fandoms, y'all. Knott's Berry Farm video.
I know your channel name, Kaylee. I just get tongue tied.
I mean, I forgot what I forgot just now, so I guess that counts. Anyway, Hersheys Chocolate Tour. We actually touched on this on the last live stream we did when we were talking about actually not the last, but like the one of the last when we were talking about
Hershey
developments at Hershey and Hersheys Chocolate World. So Hersheys Chocolate World is not technically part of Hershey Park, but it's kind of part of Hershey Park. When you go to Hershey Park, Hersheys Chocolate World is literally right next door, and not like next door and across the street. It's like you could throw a rock and hit it. But you could. So Hersheys Chocolate Tour is the free attraction. You don't have to pay to get into Chocolate World. You don't have to pay to ride this. So it always has a little bit of a wait. They give you chocolate at the end of the ride to get you hooked on Hersheys chocolate. It's a really cool little dark ride. They did just do some minor updates for the 50th anniversary where they brought back the original theme song. We did do a vlog on it. It's not wild.
Updates. They changed the song at the end. That is what they did. Spoiler alert.
No, they added. You don't remember, but there's other stuff in the vlog. They did little minor updates throughout.
In the queue line, there were some.
No, there's stuff on the ride.
No, there was
Why are
nothing
you
on the
lying
ride.
to the public?
There was not, what on the ride was different?
They added new screens throughout the. Remember of the security panel? They had a whole new screen and saying like "Happy 50th" and all of that.
Okay, they didn't change the ride that much.
They didn't do a dramatic overhaul. I said minor updates. You're trying to tell me a liar, and in doing so, you are a liar.
I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm just saying that I feel like you're trying to hype up the changes.
I want people to experience
exciting.
Hershey's Chocolate World. It is a true dark ride.
It is a true
minimal
dark ride.
screen.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do it.
And the changes were minor, but they're there.
If you feel like going to a chocolate smelling fantasy, but that's the song.
Yeah, that's the new song at the end with the new video to match it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's the biggest that's the biggest change. There are other minor changes sprinkled throughout.
They could have gone hard and done a Small World holiday level overlay.
They would have had to close the attraction for 6 months.
They probably need to close it to give it a little TLC anyway.
Oh, now you're talking down.
No, I'm saying you should do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do this ride. If nothing else, it's a free ride you can go on. Like I said, you don't have to pay. You could go to Chocolate World, do the ride, get paid in chocolate, and then go buy more chocolate. It's like a win-win-win.
Basically, what this ride is a walkthrough of how Hershey's chocolate is made. It was always that from the beginning. From the very first time I went there, it was that. But it has, as Kim has pointed out, it has
a significant update.
It has gone through several iterations.
Like 10 years ago, maybe? I can't remember. It had a significant update a while ago because I do remember. I mean, the original ride was changed a very long time ago, but the ride I think we grew up with that Kim's talking about is not the ride that is currently on show.
They've changed the ride vehicles. They've changed not the path of the ride, but they've changed the scenes around that path. Some of them are still there. Some of them have not moved at all in I guess 50 years.
Yeah.
I keep thinking like how many years, and then everyone's celebrating an anniversary this year.
Yeah, 50. A lot of between like 2021. I mean, Disney's 50th went on for forever, so I kind of forget that it was actually 2021 that Disney World turned 50. But there's a lot of 50th going around. I guess what year is it? The 70s.
I like the creepy characters, Kim. It's because I was going to add Kim at the end of it that I just got tripped up on the triple alliteration. Creepy characters, Kim. I like them. I love Reese's peanut butter, my personal favorite.
We've been on
Everyone has a favorite. Mine's Hershey's Chocolate Kisses.
Thanks, Alex. Oh my God, I've been on this ride too many times.
It's a great ride. It's a great attraction.
Stop me.
For all of the talking down.
This is my favorite part of the ride, though. When all like
the candy factory,
the candy factory part, where all like it reminds like all the wrappers are coming at you, and it's all very kinetic, and there are a bunch of conveyor belts everywhere. I'm not saying not to do the ride. I'm just saying I think it may need to go down for a little TLC. And
maybe it does.
And I say that with love because I don't want it.
Would you say that you could taste the love? Taste the love.
Oh my gosh.
Taste the love. All right, moving on.
I promise we are stone cold sober right now. I don't know what we ate.
I'll tell you, it's not what we ate. It's what we've been doing with our lives for the last like 3 weeks. We just never stop moving. We were ready for vacation. But we're not ready for vacation because it's a very active vacation.
I have that song. I'm sorry, Kim. I didn't sing it. I didn't sing it right. It was him.
Kim, I think you were on, but maybe you weren't. Before we dive bombed into our top dark rides or some of our top dark rides, we did ask if anyone had a favorite dark ride.
She did. She was there because she.
Yeah, Mr. Toad in Disneyland. Okay, yeah. Well, I just want to give everyone the same chance that we gave the regulars. So, most desired dark ride credits.
Oh yeah. Okay. So moving into this section, we're talking about
rides we have not been on.
Some of our most desired, because that list is really long too.
Yep, hundreds. But some of our most desired, and to be fair, some of the ones we talked about and didn't include, we later considered were story coasters. So we'll talk about those later in a different live stream for sure. But our most desired true dark ride credits, by our own definition, include
Some of our
Symbolica.
Symbolica.
We're going to be experiencing this
Hopefully,
one in about
4 days.
4 or 5 days. Yeah. So this is probably the one I'm like most excited for at Efteling. Like this is a Dutch attraction that has redefined the entire industry. It is a trackless ride. This one I know is trackless. I can triple, double confirm.
Yes.
Double, triple.
I don't
Quintuple.
disagree.
So this one is it's got everything. It's got like fire effects, screens, primarily animatronics and narrative scenes, most of which are in Dutch. So I'm not going to totally understand what I'm hearing, although we are learning basic Dutch so that we can try to follow along with like basic conversations. Might be able, if someone says street or boy, I've got it.
They might say that in this ride.
I mean, if I could learn the word back, I could tell everyone what my favorite band from the 90s was. So Symbolica is everything and more. It's the whole package. It does have water effects, which I'm hoping we don't get too wet. It does have interactivity. It has everything.
Wait, what's interactive?
You haven't seen the pre-show? Oh, you're in for a surprise.
I didn't know it was interactive.
It's not got like guns on the thing, but it has. You'll see.
Okay.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
You had a weird definition of interactive earlier, so I didn't know if you meant your.
No, I meant your version of interactive.
Okay.
I'm combining all the different things we talked about from our previous descriptors of dark rides. This is what this ride is. It's like the masterpiece of dark rides. So I would say of everything that we've yet to experience, this is probably my number one. But this is not a top ranked list. So again, that's the only one I'm going to assign a number value
dark
to.
Rides, because honestly, my top, including this ride, most of my top 5 are like Tokyo Disneyland rides.
Agreed. Speaking of. Journey to the Center of the Earth is at Tokyo Disney Sea. It is an amazing attraction. You know what I forgot? Boop. I knew there was some kinetic energy missing here.
The banner.
So Journey to the Center of the Earth is a wildly cool, wildly immersive dark ride, which has very little video coverage for good reason. Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea recently technically banned vlogging as a whole. So if we ever go there, we probably won't have a vlog to present from the experience. We would go just to go. But even before that, Tokyo Disneyland has some much stricter policies regarding on-ride filming. This is a more kind of thrilling attraction. It does have a lot of traditional dark ride narrative-driven scenes, which make it the dark ride that it is. But it also has like the Indiana Jones elements of like bouncing, being like trucked through. Radiator Springs Racers does the same thing in Disneyland as well. And these scenes, this is the final climactic scene where you like find out what's giving you such a hard time as you're making your way through a volcano. It's like the volcano monster. It's got a name. I don't know what it is. But yeah,
it's probably like
Tokyo Disney Sea has some, and they still have their original 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which we almost included, but we kind of wanted to highlight this one too. Just an amazing experience all the way around. Disney, I believe, is probably at the top of the dark ride game right now. But we just didn't want to spend a whole live stream talking about how Disney was doing this when other parks can and are
also doing it,
beginning to enter the dark ride game. Chad and Vanessa are going to Tokyo later this year. So hopefully, and guys, I'm really hoping, because I know that a lot of rides go down in October or in the fall as they prepare for the colder weather. So hopefully this one will be open for y'all. It is very fickle, but I'm really hoping you get to do this because I want to hear your take on it. What is
Bill Tracy's Wacky Shack? Is that a dark ride?
I believe it is.
In
Waldemir.
Is that Waldemir or Voldemir?
Well, Waldemir.
Is it Voldemir? I don't know. It looks like a German word, so I want to say Vol. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Beauty and the Beast ride,
Tokyo,
is definitely on my most desired ride list. But we didn't, like we said, we didn't want to spend too much time just talking about Disney, even though, because they have a big, yeah. This isn't a Disney dark ride live. We could do that, but we didn't. Journey
to the Center of the Earth, y'all. Get there. Battle for Metropolis. I was going to say Escape from
Justice
Metropolis.
League.
Justice League. It's an attraction that's been cloned at a couple different Six Flags around the country. Believe it or not, we have never done it. It's been accessible to us. We've been in a park that had it. We just didn't know it was there, or it was not
closed.
operating. A lot of times it is closed. It's one of the most fickle dark rides in the industry. But this is a Sally dark ride, original, very, very popular. Is a lot of screens, but it does have a lot of interactivity, and it does have a lot of animatronics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Much more, I would say, like Spider-Man at Universal than it is like Toy Story Mania. So I have seen a ride through of this. I've never actually been on it. It's very, as compared to everything else on this list, it's very accessible to us. We just haven't been able to make it back to Six Flags Great Adventure to try it. It's something that we definitely want to do. It's at many other Six Flags parks as well. So if you live near a Six Flags that has Battle for Metropolis, do it. It may not be the most amazing ride experience you've ever done, but it's very unique and it's very cool. For what it is, Sally did an incredible job.
It's cool to have a dark ride in Six Flags.
It is.
Which is a lot of times primarily more of like
an amusement park. Less theme, more amusement. So cool to see. And this is a true themed attraction too, obviously. It's the DC version of Marvel's Superhero Island Spider-Man. This one, okay, is that how it's pronounced? I was going to have you pronounce it.
Do I know how it's pronounced? That's
German.
Funny.
So this is at Europa. Again, this is one that Mock Rides built out themselves because this is part of what they're designed to do. Europa is their beta testing ground. So Snorri-Torin is a brand, well, not brand spanking new. It's pretty new. It's one of the newer rides in the park. It's not their only dark ride either, but it is the most technologically advanced of everything that they've done dark ride wise up until this point. So a lot of animatronics. It is primarily just a straightforward animatronic story-driven dark ride. You drive through each scene, you see the animatronics, they interact with you in the way that, you know, they say hi, not like you're shooting at them. They tell you a piece of the story, which you may or may not understand if you don't speak German, and then you move on to the next scene, and then you move on to the next scene, and then you move on to the next scene, and it just keeps going. It's truly like there's not enough rides like that in the world right now. Everything wants to be a shooter. Everything wants to be a screen ride. Everything wants to optimize capacity somehow. I do understand all of that. But this is a true classic dark ride, made new, made fresh for a new generation, which I really can't wait to experience whenever we do make it to Europa, which is near the top of our theme park bucket list. Oh, I think this is my last one. No,
second to last.
Second to last one. So this, you'll never guess what this is. Anyone who wants to guess, go ahead. You can put your comments in. I will give you 10 seconds. This is an attraction that
I didn't even know it existed until yesterday.
You didn't?
No.
I've talked about it before.
I tuned it out.
This exists in the shell of a place that I love, that is a chain, exists many other places. This is the only location for this attraction, this specific dark ride element being added to other things. Okay, I'm going to tell you.
I was like, I don't think we have any guesses.
So, well,
Jurassic Jungle Boat Ride.
It's very close to the Jurassic Jungle Boat Ride, which is also, I mean, that should have been on this list, to be honest. I saw it. You got it. Got it in one. This is the Rainforest Cafe Dark Ride. Rainforest Cafe, if you don't know, I love the Rainforest Cafe. I truly do. Not because the food is so great. It's not. It's okay. But what really draws me to the Rainforest Cafe is that it feels like I'm sitting in a dark ride the entire time I'm eating. There are animatronics all around you. It's an immersive environment. There's a soundtrack. There are smells. There's rain effects. It's just fun. It's fun for me to sit in that environment and just like look around like a small child, taken aback by all the amazing inventions and wild transformations of the environment around me. Anyway, so are you laughing at me?
Yes, I'm laughing at you.
So, yes, this location is the Texas, one of, I think, 3 Texas locations. This one, I believe, is closest to San Antonio. I could be wrong about that. This is the only Rainforest Cafe in the entire world that has a dark ride in it. It is a river raft ride. It is not a rapids ride. You get in a boat, you float downstream, you see several scenes. Basically tells you the story of the temple that exists within the Rainforest Cafe mythos. And then that's it. You're done. And honestly, like, again, I would be happy just to eat at the Rainforest Cafe and look around. But
So
the fact that this has
a
one,
still operating restaurant?
this still operates. This is still going right now.
Is there still a restaurant?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not Rainforest Cafe the ride. It's Rainforest Cafe
with a ride?
plus ride. Yeah. It's on the bucket list. It's not going off the bucket list.
I don't care if it's on the bucket list or not.
Super looking forward to.
I just didn't know it existed. I just thought all Rainforest Cafes were cafes.
You need to do some Googling.
No, I don't.
That's what I did.
Why should I do any Googling about Rainforest Cafe? I think you have that on lock.
I do have it on lock.
I'll spend my time elsewhere.
All right, last one. Mouse à chocolat. Chocolat? Chocolat.
Mouse au chocolat.
Mouse à chocolat. Fantasialand. Or Phantasialand, as some call it.
Wait, isn't it like Ryan Reynolds says chocolat?
Chocolat.
In spirit.
Chocolat.
Yeah.
It is interactive. It does have a lot of screen elements, but it's also very immersive, and it smells like a chocolate.
Yeah, that's honestly why I even mentioned it. I was like, I've heard it smells like chocolate, and that sounds nice. So that's what I want. I think
it is fun.
Are you throwing pies, or are they throwing pies at you?
Both. You get into a fight with mice over who has domain in the bakery.
It'd be cool if you actually were like handed a pie after.
It's very reminiscent of Knott's Berry Tales, which is why it's on the list. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think Sally had a hand in manufacturing this attraction because it is very similar. The ride mechanics are very similar to.
Maybe you're squirting icing onto the pie.
I mean, Phantasialand doesn't allow on-ride filming anymore, so I've not seen a POV. I've not gone looking for one.
Shooting things look like piping bags? I think they look like piping bags.
Yeah, they are. Do you not understand the mechanic of the ride?
I know understand
you get into a food fight with rats.
But I want to know what the little guns are.
I think they're little icing squirters.
Like piping bags.
Potato.
Icing squirters.
That's what they look like to me.
British breaking show. Hand me the icing squirter.
That's why I'm not a chef.
No. Hand me the icing squirter. Yes.
I wouldn't do well on one of those shows. I am indeed an idiot sandwich.
That's Gordon Ramsay.
But Gordon Ramsay's British.
Yeah, but he didn't do Great British Baking.
Mouse au chocolat is probably one of the few interactive shooting rides.
This is at Phantasialand, right?
Phantasialand.
Yeah.
It's one of the few interactive shooting rides that's like high up on my list. And it's not just because of like what it is. Chocolate. It's where it is and what it's about. Like it's a cool, interactive, immersive attraction.
I think the queue is supposed to be cool too.
And Phantasialand has a lot of like its dark rides or a lot of its coasters are story coasters.
Are you calling it Phantasialand now, or are we calling it Phantasialand?
Phantasialand is what Americans call it. Phantasialand is what people in Germany call it. So I'm trying to sound more German so that we don't look like we don't belong when we go. Anyways, so I hate looking like a tourist, even though I absolutely do everywhere I
hate to tell you this, dear, but we're going to look like tourists.
No!
We're going to look like tourists.
No! Not if I leave my fanny pack at home.
You don't need a fanny pack. You've got cargo shorts.
I do have cargo shorts. Cargo shorts are handy. They're good for things. So Phantasialand is at the top of, honestly, the top of our theme park bucket list after this trip to Efteling, which is coming up right around the corner. So there's more dark rides in the park, but this is the newest, coolest looking dark ride that they have. It's the sentiest. Yes,
did I mention I want to smell the chocolate?
You know, you can just eat chocolate.
I want to be immersed in the chocolate. And then after I ride this ride, I'll probably want to go buy chocolate.
There's a lot of like story or like dark ride elements in other rides too. Like there's a lot of rides at this park that are more thrilling that do have dark ride elements. But as we were talking about story coasters, like we don't want to consider those true dark rides because they're not accessible to all ages or all types of people. Like some people may not love doing high thrill rides that happen to have dark ride elements attached to them. I think in many ways, having a dark ride element attached to a thrill ride makes it more accessible to people who don't like thrill. but it's still thrilling. So you can't always coax them on. This is a ride that's accessible to everyone, which is another reason why I like traditional dark rides or even screen-based dark rides, as long as they accommodate a wider audience.
They still give me the break from the sun, the air conditioning, the sense of immersion. I just prefer to see animatronics.
Yeah, me too. But we get what we get.
We get what we get.
So, we've talked y'all's ears off about dark rides. I hope that, I mean, this is kind of like our natural stopping point, was just kind of discussing like all the things that are coming up on our potential to-dos, but also some of the things that are coming up on our like actual, like we're doing them this freaking weekend. Like we're going to be in another country this weekend, which is a crazy thing to say. First time we've ever said it. And we have to thank again our friend Ajana Claire Wise, who put together our whole travel itinerary through her travel agency, Ajana Claire Wise Travel, for setting all of this up. We will be in Efteling in 3-4 days. I think 4 days technically, but 3 bleeds in because time zone difference. Like for us, if we stayed here, it would be 3 days, but it's 4 days over there.
I am only working 2 more days this week. That's all I know.
Exactly. So Symbolica is going to be at the top of our list. Efteling has a ton of really cool dark rides that we're super hyped about. And that's kind of what put us on this thought path to begin with, was like, yes, Efteling has roller coasters. So does Toverland. Some of them are world class. But a lot of what makes the park so attractive to us is just like, not just the history and the walkthroughs, but just the dark rides, like the standardized dark rides that have made it onto the list of like top dark rides in the entire world.
There's a reason
we're going to the dark ride home of Europe.
Efteling is one of those like contenders for the Disneyland or the Disney of, you know, Germany or not Germany,
Netherlands.
The Netherlands, but parts of like that region of Europe. And I know Europeans don't like to say like generalize Europe to all of Europe, but you know, since they are so much closer together. And of course you have like Disneyland Paris, but I feel like in many ways parks like Phantasialand and Efteling are more, in some ways, more impressive than Disneyland Paris. So
I would agree. I think that Efteling has its own charm because of how much it's leaned into like immersion and dark rides and animatronics. It's much more, I think dark rides just as a whole across the entire industry, they are so much more fantastical and immersive and atmospheric than any coaster can hope to be. Coasters are fun and thrilling, and we love coasters, and we rank a million coasters as like top tier rides on our favorite rides of all time. Haggard's among them, which is a story coaster that has dark ride elements. But we will never not make time for a dark ride if there is a dark ride in the park, because at our core, we are theme park enthusiasts, not roller coaster enthusiasts. And dark rides are a huge part of what makes a theme park a theme park. So we have a trip to Efteling coming up right around the corner. We will be hitting Efteling, Toverland, and then spending a little bit of time in Amsterdam on our way back. We're going to be gone for 10 days, but 2 of them are full-on travel days. So we're spending about a week in the Netherlands. This is kind of a test to see what our international trips are going to look like over the next. We're hoping to make a habit out of this and go to a new international park every year. So we're looking forward to experiencing many, many more awesome dark rides and coasters, but especially dark rides, because Europe does dark rides so much better than North America and the United States. I'm just putting that out there as a blanket statement.
That's a strong statement.
Disney and Universal are in a class unto themselves.
Yeah. Okay, I would.
Dark rides.
If you take,
I'm not taking them out. I'm saying that Disney and Universal are pulling more than their fair share of the dark ride way. But Europe, every park seems to have some kind of dark ride attraction, animatronic, or walkthrough, or something.
Again, I wish, like, I'm glad that Curse of Dark Castle didn't just get totally eliminated, but I'd love to see a dark ride at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. It's otherwise got all the elements of a great theme park, but it needs a dark ride.
It does need a dark ride.
Anyway.
So let's go ahead and put a pin on this, because I know we got some packing to do still.
Oh my God.
This week's Creator Spotlight goes out to our friends at ever.after.adventures. That's their Instagram handle. On YouTube, I believe it's just Ever After Adventures without the space. Lovely couple from Canada, which I just started following. They have mostly a Disney-focused channel, but because they live so far away, although they just became DVC members, there's a lot of content that's not Disney on there as well. So I felt a kindred spirit in them when I found them, and they do make great content, so please definitely check them out. Heartline Halls is technically a coaster account, but she posts a lot of other stuff from theme parks and including dark rides. And from her side business on Etsy, she does make coaster print patterns and whatnot that are really cool to look out. So please do check out her Instagram and her Etsy shop if you're interested in anything. We love to support small shops. Although I know Etsy is kind of taboo right now because of management changes. We still want to support small shops where we can, how we can. So if anything changes, we'll update the links with the new storefronts. And then Tats and Coasters, Emily, we've been following her for a while. She follows us, very supportive. And she's such a friendly UK vlogger that loves theme parks, a true coaster enthusiast. I think her Instagram and her TikTok are probably her primaries right now, but I really do want to call out her YouTube channel because she is really close to 200 subscribers, and I really want to give her that little extra nudge. So if you haven't, please check out Tats and Coasters on YouTube. Again, her name is Emily, makes very accessible, very fun vlogs that I think everyone will enjoy to some extent or another, and does a whole lot of traveling to places that we can only hope to visit in the near term, but probably the longer term.
And before we go, before I forget, just wanted to tell Chad and Vanessa to have a safe and wonderful trip up to Canada this weekend too. Excited to see those videos. Might not get to them until we get back, but we'll be very happy to see them.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys have fun. I haven't been to Canada in a long, long time.
I've never been.
I was like a child the last time I went.
I'm excited. I mean, we'd love to visit all the Cedar Fair parks eventually, and Canada's Wonderland is one of the parks that Chad
I don't think I've
visiting.
seen a true vlog from Canada's Wonderland, if ever. I've only seen
I've seen one from Adventures by Parker, Adventures with Parker. Parker from Adventures of did post a vlog from Canada's Wonderland because it's actually his home park. But we are excited to see the Chad and Vanessa side of things.
Some friends take on the park.
And of course, when we come back, which will not be 2 weeks from today, but 3 weeks from today, because we're actually coming back the day before the next regular Tuesday, and we will not be ready. We will barely be ready by the following week. We will have a trip report for y'all, and we'll start leaking out the vlogs as soon as we can after the fact. Okay, it is with. It was not Adventures by, Adventures with Parker. Yes. So we will be back on the 18th of July with our trip report. Have your questions ready. If you watch our Instagram feed and you come up with those questions, we'll be happy to answer them. Until the next time, guys, we will go ahead and close it out. Thank you for joining us. We hope we have been informative and not obnoxious.
And we hope that the love of dark rides inspires more dark rides throughout the world.
If not us, people like us.
Yeah.
We'll all form an army and get dark rides added to every theme park.
Go back to school and become mechanical engineers.
There you go. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Tim.
I'm Katie. My arms are off screen.
Every night
is a new adventure.
We'll see you again soon.
Good night.
Bye, guys.